Hi, this is Dr. Jim Turnage in San Diego, California, and welcome to Wonderful Wednesdays. We've been here for 14 years on Wednesday night, 7 p.m., and tonight you're in for a special treat. This is our monthly healing prayer workshop, and this week we bring you What's Your Attitude in Prayer? Welcome. Welcome to Wonderful Wednesdays and our healing prayer workshop. And this week we're going to talk about attitude in prayer. So our goals for tonight are discover our beliefs about prayer, discuss the physics of metaphysics a little bit, discover how we can allow our consciousness to inform our physical universe. So why do you pray? Any ideas? Anybody have any reasons for prayer?
I use prayer as a discussion with God.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I use prayer to align myself with myself and then to align myself with God, like Marion said.
Yeah. So there are lots of ways of doing this, ways of going about it. Since we are a religious science organization, often people in unity and Christianity in general, and doing prayer in general, are trying to get something or change a condition, to get some sort of outcome. So we're going to talk about the 5-step spiritual mind treatment tonight a little bit, and it's called affirmative prayer. And what happens in affirmative prayer? Are you pulling a rabbit out of the hat? Producing things. When I first was studying religious science, a lot of people, that's what they wanted. And when they came to you for prayer, they wanted a specific outcome. They wanted, the rent, or they wanted to meet somebody, or they wanted to have a car. In other words, changing something. What are the 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment? Or affirmative prayer? Recognition, unification, realization. I highlight that a lot because we're going to talk a lot more about that. Thanksgiving and release. And those are the 5 steps. As you know, often we do them backwards or randomly. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but I like to emphasize the 3rd step if we're doing affirmative prayer. If you know that God is all there is, you don't really have to do anything. If you actually know that as an absolute fact, then you wouldn't need to do prayer. It wouldn't be necessary. It would be a 1-step prayer. So, probably not everybody's familiar with this. This is called the teaching symbol of religious science, or science of mind.
Probably.
Go ahead. Yeah. So everybody's probably seen something like this before. I remember one time I was at a conference, and I was studying for a test in religious science when I got back from the conference, and a guy comes up and pointed at it and said Kabbalah. So in many different faith traditions, there's this general way of looking at the way things manifest in life. And so this symbol here, the entire symbol is God is all there is. In other words, everything. The circle means this is all of everything, which is God. The upper part, the upper third here, is sort of God's mind, the universal mind, the first cause, the initiating thing. And then the middle part here is the subjective mind, and the soul, the unformed substance, creative medium, universal subjective mind. I think I would focus right now on the unformed substance idea. And then this line, this V right here, implies that as you go from this idea and impress it into the unformed medium, unformed substance or creative medium, then stuff happens. In other words, effect or condition or manifestation. And so when you see a lot of these things like The Secret and Law of Attraction, a lot of these pop, books and orientation toward creating different conditions in your life.
What to believe?
This is what they're talking about. this idea that there is this universal mind that you're a part of, God, and that you come up with an idea, and the stuff that's already there, the unformed substance, gets manifested as something. So we're going to talk more about that, why this is important principle.
I've always had a problem with that diagram, however.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, and I remember when we were doing the class, foundation class in whatever, and my project that we had, a finishing project, I did it on this particular image. To me, we're in flatland here. It's two-dimensional. The way I see it is the whole circle is universal divine conscious field, universal spirit, all of that. And then we're in there, like here in the center, and rather than having it coming down like this, it comes up like this. So it's three-dimensional and down like that because we're inside of it. We're not separate from it.
Well, I probably told you this story when I did foundations.
Yeah.
In order to adapt to that idea of three-dimensional / four-dimensional / n-dimensional space.
Yeah.
I did a Jello mold. So I had 3 different colors of Jello.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still have the bowl at home someplace. And then I had different colored Jello coming down, descending down here. And that was my idea of a 3-dimensional way of looking at this. But of course, it's not just 3-dimensional; it's n-dimensional. It's 4-dimensional because it's beyond time, right? So I think that they sort of marked me at that point as being unconventional, shall we say? A lot of people did some really cool things. They did songs. They did lots of different things. But I thought Jello was good because we could also eat it at the end. So. But this is an important thing in religious science, unity, a lot of the New Thought religions. I put a big arrow here, how important I think the 3rd step is here. As you move in from this into the 3rd step. This is the 3rd step right here. Moving from here down into here. He said. So when we're doing this, the reason it's important to focus on this area, the soul, the unformed substance, is that you're not creating anything. Everything is already there. Everything is already there. And when you're doing affirmative prayer, all you're doing is conditioning, using your consciousness, condition what is already there. Because all that is necessary for everything for eternity is there. And your consciousness conditions that in a way that pleases you or you can recognize. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Yeah, it's already there. But the thing that's already there. If you're trying to do spiritual mind treatment for a car, there is no car in here. You understand? There's no car. There's no girlfriend. There's no car. There's no new job. There's no money. There's no rent. That's not what's in here. This is the unlimited potential of unformed substance. But you think you want a car, and so you manifest a car. That does not change this. This is the unlimited, all-purpose, all-encompassing possibility of every moment.
So what if you wanted healing or you wanted food for your family? That wouldn't be in there either?
It's not, what is in there is the potential for anything that you can imagine.
Oh.
And also it's kind of the process, right? It describes the action that's going to happen to perhaps give you a car or food.
Exactly. Now you'll recognize it as curing of your illness, meeting a girl, getting a car, getting money, paying the rent. You'll recognize it because it's conditioned by your consciousness.
So is that where, when you say I have more than enough, it comes into that? Or is that something?
Well, that's an example because there's infinite. This is infinite. It looks like it's only a third, right?
Yeah.
But like Stan says, this whole thing is more than 3-dimensional. It is infinite dimensionality. It's beyond, space. It's beyond time. It is whatever you could possibly want to know is here. So a lot of people, I think, misunderstand this. They go, well, so cars are in there, and all the potential things, and you go in and pick them out, and then you manifest them. That's not how it works at all. Because when we manifest things and we go, oh wow, this is great, what a miracle, all we're doing is noticing what is already there, which is unlimited. It's God's unlimited good, and we're recognizing it as rent or curing of your illness.
Jim, you have an excellent experience that you give about the girl that wanted the car, and you gave her encouragement as a practitioner, and
Right.
she got the car, and then you saw her a year later or something, and you asked her if she was happy, and she said no, because she didn't get the boy.
Yeah, she was hoping to have a relationship with this other woman.
The relationship wasn't right. Who you put there?
Well, she because
Okay.
she didn't ask for what
Okay,
she
is it
wanted.
good?
She asked for.
So the thing is, if you don't know what you want, then how the heck can you ask the universe and be happy?
Why do you,
So first of all, you got to you have to understand where your prayer is coming from, and then you can put it out there in an affirmative way. But she's asking for a car. What she really wanted was a relationship, and she thought the car would be able to make her achieve that.
Yeah,
And
and
it's just a really good example.
and even beyond that, because her sense of self-worth
Yeah.
was being defined in a relationship, whether it was with a car or a woman or a job. And our worth is the Christ consciousness, is the unlimited Christ consciousness. That's our worth. Goldsmith calls it being joint heirs of the Christ. Go ahead.
so do we need to ask for something? Can we just not sit and pray?
Yeah, that's why I quit doing that. I quit asking for anything, because I found out that I was never asking enough. That's why in the book I talk about that story about $19,647.23, because I didn't know to pray that I was fully supported in all things. I putting a metric on. I was putting a price tag on my good, and you can do that, and it will work. It work in the sense that you'll manifest things. I was only $200 and change short of what I actually needed to stay even. I didn't ask for abundance. I asked for just to stay afloat, to not drown in my debts. So prayer is great. It's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with it. But I want you to remember, this is a very important concept in metaphysics, and that is you have an unlimited source. It's always unlimited. However, you will manifest how you condition that unlimited good by your own consciousness. Does that make sense?
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really important. Let this sink in. I got a few more
Sharon
slides.
and I had an amazing benefit. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So what I do is, if I'm trying to manifest something, and I have something specific, or if I'm asked specifically about manifesting something, what I actually say in the third step of the spiritual mind treatment is, I see whatever the situation is, fill in the blank, the way God sees it, which is perfect. If somebody says, I need to get that red car, and it needs to be a convertible, and it has to have certain tires and a certain engine, I'm going to go past that and say, I'm going to see this request in this situation the way God sees it, which is perfect.
Better be a Porsche.
Well, then that allows for the possibility of something way beyond that. You see what I'm saying? So third step, if I'm using 5-step spiritual mind treatment, which I don't always do. In fact, I don't do it very often. But if I am, I just put the blank in there. Whatever it is the person says they think they need, but I say, this situation where you believe that you lack X, I see that situation the way God sees it, which is perfect. Without limitation, without condition, without the limitation of our human consciousness. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This is very important. They do not teach this way in religious science or unity. It's kind of disturbing because this is what actually is occurring. God has no limitation. The only limitation is our limitation.
Yeah.
There's another way of looking at prayer in manifestation, and that is the Matthew 7:7 and Luke 11:9.
Yeah.
The ASK scripture, the ask, seek, knock. And if you do that, but if you do it without expectation, you're just mechanically doing, asking you shall receive, seek and you'll find, knock and the door will be opened unto you. If you do that without the attitude of expectation of it already being done, that's why in spiritual mind treatment, we say at the end, and so it is. We don't go, I can't wait till it all shows up. We don't do that. Why? Because we already see it done. And when I'm doing that, I'm thinking about that unlimited center part of the symbol, that unlimited source, unlimited in variety and amount and depth and applicability and love. That's what I'm holding in my consciousness. The expectation that perfection is already done. So the ASK scripture, I think, is an important way because a lot of people who are Christians have read that scripture a lot and have found reassurance in it. If you read that scripture and take it to heart with an expectation that it is already done, you're going to start seeing a different outcome, I think.
Didn't Christ with the centurion say exactly that when he told the centurion, "Your servant is healed"?
I think you've been reading my slides or the newsletter. So
yeah, I'm just thinking, that it's as you believe, so it is done.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is an attitude? It's emotions, beliefs, and behaviors toward a particular object, person, thing, or event. I don't think God has an attitude. We have an attitude. And if we align our attitude with the unlimited consciousness of God, then who cares what we're asking for? Why ask for anything? Just align with God. But we have attitudes. And in social psychology, there are three parts: emotions, beliefs, and behavior. We've done this actually in other classes too. But these are the three elements of an attitude: your affect, in other words, your emotions; behaviors, things you do and think about; and then, beliefs, things you think about, and then the things you do, behaviors. And as we know, what's really important in the affect, in the emotions, the limbic system. And what's hooked up to the limbic system? A very important organ. We just finished 6 weeks on it.
Yes, indeed.
What's hooked up to the limbic system?
Heart.
Exactly, by hardwiring. It's hardwired. It's not just a metaphor. It's actually wired together with the heart and the limbic system.
So it's part of a whole.
Yeah. So I mentioned this time, I think, in the email, do you come to prayer with the attitude of a beggar? Well, then you can be crossing your fingers and hoping, or you can pray to the Santa Claus God to fix you. We don't need to come as a beggar. And Stan, you see, you were prescient about this slide. So in Matthew 8:13, a centurion comes to Jesus, and he's very concerned. And centurions are very powerful. They are military guys and have great authority, civil authority in the Roman Empire. And so he comes begging Jesus to fix his servant, to heal his servant who is having a palsy, while having seizures. And he comes to him and he says, I know you can do this. So Jesus, what has Jesus said to him? He doesn't say, you're powerless. What does he say? The power is in you.
You. As you believe, it's done unto you as you believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jesus didn't say, I have the power. He said, you have the power of belief. As you have believed it, so it is done unto you. This is another important attitude in prayer. Do we come as a beggar, asking for so little? In my case, $19,647.23. I didn't even get what I needed to stay even, because I came as a beggar, even though it looked like I was doing some sort of a spiritual mind treatment, some sort of prayer. But it's done unto you as you believe. When you change the way you believe about things, the things that you see change.
Your internet connection is unstable.
So this is the approach, obviously, because I wrote a book about it, about how we can approach attitude in prayer. So once it finally hit me that I need to be not so wrapped up in asking for things and trying to rearrange God's universe, I realized that there were 7 sacred words I'd been told by Marin, my first practitioner, who said, because I was worried about the way spiritual mind treatment worked, and it didn't work, and sometimes it just didn't seem to work. And she said to me these 7 words: God is my only source and supply. So that's what you say. God is my only source and supply. So what attitude do I bring to prayer? God is my only source and supply. With emotion, with belief, and acting on those beliefs. So I like to think about God a lot when I'm doing the 7 words. And then God is. So this is the manifestation part. In the symbol, this is when it goes from the middle part and descends down into the manifestation. So you have this idea up at the top that goes through the middle part there, where the unlimited possibilities are, and the isness of that thought, that idea, becomes manifest. And this is all about the relationship you have with God. So you have certain beliefs about what God is and how God operates. But you also have a personal relationship with God. So in Christianity, particularly in Protestant religions, we talk about our walk with God. Just a closer walk with thee. And this is your relationship with God. And the stronger the relationship you have, you become less concerned about the specific manifestation or even how you would formulate prayer. And of course, only is important. I was taught that there was a devil out there trying to subvert my goodness. And once I realized that there was only one power, and one and only one power, I don't really worry about Satan or devils or spirits or any of that stuff, because I know there's only one power. So God is my only source and supply. There's nothing opposing God, because God is all there is. And God and source is that experience within you, in your molecules, in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, that is God. And where do you look for it? Within. How deeply? As deep as you can go, and deeper still. Where is your source, and how can you find it? Through prayer, unconditioned prayer, meditation, contemplation, praying the rosary, meditation. As you know, I love the and word in God is my only source and supply, because we live in this unlimited universe. And that, once again, is that middle part of the teaching symbol. That's the middle part. It's the and part. Of course, source and supply, God and our supply are always linked together, just like the palm of your hand or the back of your hand. We're always linked together. They're logical. A gold coin has two sides. It has a face and an obverse. If it didn't, it wouldn't be a valuable gold coin. So of course they exist together. They're always together. Source and supply are always together. But even more important is that in every situation, if you think there's only one way, there are two ways. If there are two ways, there are 10 ways. If there are 10 ways, there are 1,000 ways, and so on. An innumerable number of possibilities in every moment. God is not only source and supply. And then supply is what we've been talking about. People praying for a specific thing are never going to get God's grace, God's greatest grace. You're never going to notice what's really there for you. And so supply it's the actual experience of abundance. Supply is not the car. It's not the $19,647.23. It's not, getting your degree. It's not any of those things. It's the sense of abundance. And that abundance is unlimited. So what is your attitude in prayer? Do you come as a beggar? Or as the joint heir of the Christ consciousness? We're going to be very short tonight because I want to discuss these ideas a little bit. Any questions about what we've been talking about tonight and how that could affect your prayer life? Quiet bunch tonight.
Pardon?
I said we're really good. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is absolutely important to know about. When you're praying, we ask for so little when everything is offered to us. So the idea
quantum physics too, where you collapse a quantum field to get a particular result, and you don't realize that all possibilities of doors are open until you collapse the quantum field.
Exactly. Every self-help book is based on this. Every self-help book is based on this idea of seed, soil, plant, of the idea that you have, your individual idea, and the soil is the soul or the unformed substance, receiving that idea, moving down into manifestation. Every self-help book is about that. And it is something, it's not nothing, it's something, but what is possible is everything. It says it's God's good grace to give us the kingdom. It doesn't say God's good grace to give us 80% of what we need. That's not what it says. It doesn't say a little dustbin in the corner. It doesn't say half a loaf. It says God's good grace to give us the kingdom. All the things that we need. Any other ideas about prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer?
I've got a benefit to share about prayer as we're talking about right now.
Okay.
I'd like to hear it. Yeah. As you probably know, Sharon and I are living temporarily in $1 million home that is going to be sold very shortly. And the issue about this prayer is that the understanding was that we would move in here and rehabilitate it because it needed a lot of work, and have about 18 months to 2 years to find a permanent place for ourselves. Well, that didn't exactly work out because when the market got superheated, Sharon's sister, who is the executor of the estate,
Stan,
decided
so get focused on the prayer idea here.
Okay. The idea was that we're suddenly facing with having to move very quickly and having a shortage of funds in the interregnum before the estate is parceled out with a considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
So I've been praying for the highest, greatest good for all concerned, because I had this ferocious anger towards your sister, but I wanted to go to neutral, for the highest, greatest good for all concerned. So the 2 days ago, we got a call from one of Sharon's cat people that she knows very well, who's about our age and is very well off, lives in Point Loma, and they offered us a place at a very reasonable rate to move to in an interregnum with our cats. That's another concern, being able to move in with our cats too, until we buy a place and land permanently. Well, Sharon chanted with a primitive prayer, and I've been praying the highest, greatest good for all concerned and getting rid of the anger that I have.
Yeah.
And yesterday, she got a message from this person saying, at our house in Point Loma, we have this granny, or this, guest lodge. And you see the ocean, everything from it. And we're just rehabilitated, it fixed it up. And why don't you stay there for free until you find the land we want?
Yeah.
So it's going to enable us to
Stan, if
do
you were
what we wanted to do, which is
if you were doing
money,
if you were doing traditional prayer, which is trying to figure out what you think you want, and pray for that, would you have ever thought of that as the answer?
No.
Right.
And I wouldn't even have thought. Now it's gone from $1,500 a month at some rental that would take us to free for as long as we need to the estate settled. We get our money, we can go buy something. And
I know that even that appears to be a miracle, and that's not even the miracle. That's not even the miracle. It's something greater.
The miracle is
to be unfolded.
We're supported in all things.
Yeah, when you were praying that the greatest highest good for all concerned, that creates a tremendous open space.
Yes.
For God's good grace to flow into. That's how it works.
Sure.
That's how it works. When we try to use our plans, God's plans fit short circuit. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great story.
It's too complicated in this housing market right now to figure it out.
It's always too complicated.
And so it's a beautiful place. It's another $1 million place. Yeah, it is. And so I just gave it up to God and said, okay, I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to get to neutral. When I get to neutral, then I'm going to maybe move to radical forgiveness. But right now I'm at neutral, and that's fine. But, whatever God has, it's going to be great. And Sharon chanted along the same kind of lines, really good, really focused, affirmative prayer through, verbal action. And bingo, they said, okay, even the timing's perfect because it looks like we're going to have to move in September and it'll be ready in September. You could move in September, stay as long as you like. And so we feel so bad. So we said, look, maybe the gardener and the maid and kind of give back a little bit because they're about our age and they have considerable means. They have a beautiful place. And so, and I just saw pictures of it today. She sent us pictures of what it is, and it's perfect. And we will have to store a lot of our stuff because it's already furnished. So store everything pretty much. Yeah. But there's places for plants and everything to go for the cats to be, and then we can time the market and actually maximize the monies we'll have to buy something and not get.
Dan, I wouldn't even start shutting it off like that. I wouldn't make it any closed-ended thing there. I would let it manifest to its maximum power. Wouldn't think about the market. Wouldn't think about
that's where I'm praying. The
size of something that whether it's up, down, San Diego, on the moon. I wouldn't limit your good at all. I would just be open to the most open possible thing to occur because you've already seen the demonstration, which is something you would never have thought of.
Well, the thing was we were going to be here and save the rent and be able to have not only be able to pay cash, but have even more.
You see what happens though? Your suffering starts when you focus on this. You start focusing on the details, on the nuts and bolts. Suffering starts.
Sure.
When you start focusing,
immediately.
Yeah, when you start focusing on the unlimited grace of God,
it's just amazing. And I've known her. We've rescued cats that she's adopted. A couple of cats that she really loved, and I mean Sharon and she formed a really tight bond. Yeah. And we haven't seen her in quite a while because of our own situation, and this came out of nowhere.
Well, it comes out of
beautiful people.
It comes out of.
It was always there.
It was always there, and even greater things. These and greater things will you do. These and greater things.
Exactly.
Because the the
Yeah.
the apostles asked Jesus, how can we do this too? And he says, these and greater things will you do. Even this stuff I'm doing,
Yeah.
which I'm not doing, you will do as well, and greater things still. Why? Because it's not us. It's not us. It's always God. Even when we think we're doing all the steps and we're doing all the work and we're doing all the planning, it's not us. We're just a benefit. We just receive the benefit of it. That's a great story, Stan.
But we have to look into that.
Focusing on the unlimited possibilities. Open-ended.
Yeah. And it's perfect right now at this moment. And I know that we'll get the perfect place in the end, and everything's going to be fine. And we're not going to get bogged down in what I think we should have. I mean, I need so many thousand square feet, and it has to look like this, and it has to be like that. God knows what I need. God knows what I want. I'm limiting myself when I start going that way.
Yeah, even when you say
square feet, I feel it. I see it.
It sounds square feet sounds like it's like a box.
Yeah.
Unlimited.
So many acres, so many whatever. It's like
unlimited possibilities. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing, and it's just because you let go of the levers. You take your hands off the levers and just let it do its thing.
This has been very scary for us because we didn't have to move. And I would not have moved had I known what was going to happen back in March. I would have definitely stayed, and then this thing could have happened here, and we could have still had the place there and be safe and all of that. But in this housing market right now, when I moved,
then you wouldn't have had this possibility to let somebody live out the goodness of their heart. You'd be foreshortening the possibility that she could live her greatest self.
Yeah.
To be giving and loving.
I was all full of malice
and giving back to you for all your dedication
to
the animals.
Yeah, I wanted to hire a lawyer. We had malice of intent. We had a fraud. We had all kinds of things you could go for. And you, back last week, said counsel us a spiritual way, and we've been doing it. And boom.
I would stick with it because what you get in the end is a spiritual outcome. All lawyers just get you money.
Yeah.
And they take your money, and then you get some money sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
Well,
when you do this, you get to experience the action of God at work.
Yeah.
So that's a great story, man. Stick with it. Anybody else want to talk about this principle of focusing on the unlimited substance that is unformed substance that is available to you, and that your attitude, the way your consciousness is working, is what determines what you see from that unlimited possibility. When you change your consciousness, what you see changes. That it does become houses and becomes a bed to lay your head on. It becomes a relationship. It becomes a song. It becomes the breath that animates you. Things that you can recognize because that's within human consciousness ability to understand and appreciate. So when we do gratitude journals and we say, I'm grateful for the jacaranda, little flowers out there on the tree.
Yeah, jacarandas, yeah.
Yeah, when I'm grateful for those things.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of that, is being grateful for it. It's the experience of being grateful. It's not the flower. But my consciousness is able to see the flower and be grateful for the flower. I think Laura was trying to talk. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So, Tom, what do you think?
Tom's turned off, it looks like here, and so is Marion. So is Laura.
No, I just have my speaker turned off. That's all.
Yeah.
I can turn on the camera too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I've been doing spiritual mind treatment for decades, so it feels really good to have it resonate in from all these years. I like it. I think I've moved a little bit differently in the recent past, and this is to turning it over to Holy Spirit and say, and it's essentially the same thing, but it's just a conscious me not outlining what it is, but just saying, okay, here I am, guide me through this mess.
Just here we are. Just be there and be with God. This whole idea of contemplation, that's why in the book I talk about contemplating each word in the 7 words. So that you're just in the presence of God. Just hang out in the presence of God. Well, what do you get out of that? You get to be in the presence of God. That's what you get out of it.
That's pretty good.
It's not much better than that.
No, I was going to say, you don't get better than that.
So I want to start teaching this, I need to call a couple of churches up and see if they'll let me teach foundations or whatever they're calling it now.
They're changing it, Dr. Jim. They're going to do away with foundations.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
I'll let you know. We're going to start the new,
which going to be placed?
New option.
Yeah, because this is really, really, really important to know about these principles. These are the fundamental principles of metaphysics. And I didn't really understand it well until I studied Goldsmith, which brings us to the next slide. So the next class series is about the infinite way, which is what Goldsmith called his philosophy that is actually an extension of Christian Science. And so we're gonna talk about not only the book The Infinite Way, and I have a non-copywritten PDF of the book, so you can use the book. But I'm going to talk about some other information from other sources about Goldsmith. So I just want to put a cool video in here. So I paid for these services. I'm going to use them.
Good for you.
Yeah. So like when I'm working on my website now for the book, I can put the cover anywhere. So in little videos. No, this is the Infinite Way. This is the Goldsmith book.
Oh, okay.
But it's pretty cool. I mean, it'll just put it on a video or put it on a mock-up of a book or whatever, or an iPad or whatever. So that's going to be the next class series we're going to talk about, because when you're talking about Goldsmith, he strips away a lot of the new age, kind of utilitarian way of looking at metaphysics, The Secret and all that stuff. He said.
He did.
Thank you very much. So that's this
very
week.
Good.
I'm very excited about hearing about how you guys can apply these principles of allowing the infinite potential of God to operate in your life and call that prayer. Allowing the unlimited potential of God to operate in your life and call that prayer. Yeah. All right. So that's this week.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Do you have a slide that says just that?
No.
I didn't think I saw one, but that's really important wording.
In jazz, this is jazz. As many of you know, I was a musician for a very, very long time, still am. And that's improvisation. That's just jazz right there. So.
No, I meant your wording about what you just said to us about applying it.
Yeah, I don't have a slide for that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put that as a slide next week.
All right.
As I review what I said. Because sometimes when I listen to what I said, I go, I said that. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But that's really, really important. And for somebody that's learning to do it, if you can visually see it as well as hear you say it, then it makes a better impression.
Yeah.
I have to say that some of us have more than one way of learning, and one of the ways is visual.
Yeah.
So anyway, That would be nice to see a slide if you have the energy to do it.
Well, what I'm working on next week, because I need to do the video now. We're going to convert this over to a video and upload it to YouTube. And when I'm listening to it, maybe I'll remember what I said. Yeah, I've had patients tell me that I'll see many years later. They're not on my pages anymore. They may have moved, and they'll say, "I never forgot when you told me," and they'll tell me some specific thing that I told them, and I have no. It sounds like something I would say, but I have no specific recollection of saying it. So we call that
Marion?
we call it improvisation.
Marion,
Yes.
what do you mean by just that? A slide for that? Like, I'm trying to understand.
He was telling us that he was interested in how we would apply this at this lesson. But he didn't use the words to get unlimited, how we would apply this towards our greater good.
Okay.
I can't exactly put his words back in I can't pull his words back out of his mouth and repeat them. So, but he said it twice. That's why I thought it was important.
Well, I'll definitely listen to it. I'll definitely listen to it and figure out what I said.
Well, because Dr. Jim, I'm looking at how I pray and and I'm thinking if I could see that versus just hearing it, it's that hearing it is sort of gone. But if I have a picture, a lot of times I'm snapping a screen print so that I can go back and go through the lesson of the week.
Okay.
And so that would help. It's selfish on my part, but it would help me. And I know there's been a lot of people in my life that have said a single thing to me, and it has stuck with me forever. Well, at least 37 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so, I'll think about when I listen to this week, I'll see if I can fit one of the slides in, because these principles are common. They're common but important metaphysical principles.
It's exactly what you were saying. That's exactly what you were saying, and then you went on a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's really key, and I am very interested to see, because Dan, applied the principles from last week and saw benefit in his life.
Right.
These principles are powerful. They are the way the universe actually operates. It's not, some magical thing. It's just the way the universe operates. When we start allowing God's good, unlimited good, to be manifest in our life, then we can see the demonstrations to reinforce that. But don't be fooled by the demonstration of that, the outcome of that. Be even more passionate about holding the presence of God and God's unlimited love and possibilities for our lives. And then we'll see manifestations. Don't worry about the manifestations. They come. I was thinking, somebody was asking me about going to medical school and stuff, because I started later in life. And then they asked me, well, how did that happen? And how did that happen? I have absolutely no idea how any of those things worked out, because they were so improbable a lot of times that I could never have figured them out. Just like Stan said about his prayer and Sharon's chanting. Couldn't figure out how that would work out. But that's exactly how it works out.
How did you end up in an educational building and end up at Locke High School?
But when you end up,
how did that happen?
When all the good happens in your life and the things that happen in your life, that's exactly how it works out. It's not accidental. It has to work out. When you get to the edge of the cliff, a big giant bird has to come along and pick you up and fly you to someplace else. That's how it works out. When you walk down that, like you say, when you walk through that building, and I had no money, and I'm trying to pay off loans and get more loans to go to school. And all of a sudden I have a job that was just transforming for me, teaching high school. I've never wanted to be a high school teacher. It was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And so these things are happening in your life all the time because they come from that little middle part. They come from that infinite possibility that's in the middle part of that teaching symbol. It's an unlimited, unformed substance.
So I've got a question here. It kind of begs a question here. You're on the cliff, and the big bird doesn't come along, and you crash.
Yeah,
you go off the cliff. Is that what happens when you don't hold up unlimited possibilities, or you're too narrow in your thinking? It's got to be an airplane or a helicopter. It can't be a bird or something. I mean,
well, if you're a Buddhist,
what's really going on when it doesn't work?
Stan, aren't you a Buddhist?
Yeah.
You know what happens?
Yeah,
I know what happens. I get reincarnated.
Yeah, No, the point is, it goes around and around and around. But people win and people lose. In life, they great things happen, or they fall off the cliff and descend into hell. And is it just that simple? That when you hold all possibilities open, all possibilities are there, and somehow you manage to squeeze through the needle? Or is it seems almost like if you're not immaculate in your spirituality, you can get run over again and again and again and not even know what the hell happened.
Yeah, that's because that's where human beings, because we have a deep belief that we are limited human beings. It's so far down into our structure of our existence and our consciousness that we automatically limit ourselves every day, every breath.
Our ego takes over, and we have to have the answer. We have the answer.
Uh-oh.
We figure it out. It has to be our answer. This is how it has to happen.
Yeah,
because we figured it out.
It's the thing is, it's so ingrained in us that we limit ourselves constantly because we're in the habit of doing that. And a lot of this work, including the Course in Miracles, particularly a Course in Miracles, is that you retrain your mind. That's what all these classes are about. The joke, I don't know if you came up with a joke, or I can't, maybe it was Victor. It's the same class with a different name.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's the same class with a different name. Well, of course it is, because we're retraining our minds to take the shackles off, to take the limitations off, to accept our inheritance, our spiritual inheritance, which is the Christ, to accept that the Buddha mind, the Buddha womb, to accept that as our true self. We're retraining our minds to do that. So that's this week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so
all the best to you, Laura, and your endeavors in your classes. I guess you're going to be taking them here pretty quickly.
Yes. So I'll be absent the next 2 months because I'll be totally immersed in my tax classes.
But all the best to you in that, and I hope you get a lot of value out of it.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, this is, by the way, this is a pre-hypnotic suggestion. I'm wondering if it's going to be so easy for you. I'm wondering how easy it's going to be for you. That it's just,
I don't know.
I'm just wondering how natural this is going to come to you. I don't know if it's going to be completely natural so that it's just like drinking water, or if it's going to be effort followed by success after success. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but isn't it interesting to think about how that's going to work out?
It will be huge. I just received my books. Are 6. 6. It's a pile like this high.
It's 6 books. Whoa.
Those tax lawyers,
and lots of homework too, I imagine.
They got a lot to say. Well,
yes.
if you have an hour to sneak in next week, drop in anytime.
Yeah. But for sure, after I'm done with my class, I'll return. Okay. I really like it and enjoy it, and
everybody,
it really helped me.
You're welcome. Be sure and tell your friends about this. I love doing this, but I also love doing it with more people. Since I used to entertain people for money, You know, I would like to entertain more of us. I think these principles are valid and they're important, and we can learn them and we can practice them.
Yeah,
God
the
bless
world,
you.
the world needs more of this.
Absolutely. So God bless you and keep you, as it says in the scripture, make his face to shine upon you and give you peace.
On you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
That's beautiful.
Thank you
Good
very
night. Good night, everyone.
Good luck, Laura.
Thank you.
Thanks for visiting us again for Wonderful Wednesdays, sponsored by Open to the Top International Spiritual Center, a covenanted community of the Centers for Spiritual Living. We've been here at the Heart Space every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for the past 14 years. Please join us again next week as we begin a new class series based on The Infinite Way, a fantastic book and philosophy of the wisdom of Joel Goldsmith. If you'd like to contact me, please email me at drjim@drjimturnage.com. That's drjim, drjim, at drjimturnage.com. Peace and blessings to you all, and have a wonderful week.